Hello, Yari.
Hey, hey.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I do. Do you hear me?
Yes, I do. My body is a peach.
Mm.
My dancing is very noisy today, Yari.
Oh,
Last week you were dancing like a dog.
right, right.
And this also has
Oh,
sound, right?
yes.
Your dance dogging. Your dance dagging. Your your dog dancing.
My dog dancing. Yo, I my shoulders are loose.
Mhm. When I was young and I left for college, I worked at a theatre, and in the play, they peeled an orange every performance, and the smell of the orange was so visceral, and it just filled the auditorium. It was a big theatre, pretty big theatre, and you would just like it hit you, and it was so impactful. I think the performance was called Blue Orange.
Blue. Wow.
For the listeners, I'm mentioning orange because my performance started by grabbing an orange and then dancing with it and then peeling it and biting it. And I bit the zest and all the oils, sort of like in went into my face and into my mouth and ah yeah.
Hmm. And then huh, I'm thinking the mouth as a also opening as the camera, the relation mouth camera.
Mm,
Um, both taking in somehow. I wonder also the relation of breathing and breathing in and out. Does the camera also have a sort of like rhythm?
I mean, it definitely has a space, right? And I guess there's a rhythm in terms of frame rate. So, I mean,
Right.
we only ever see a still image, or it's only re in reality a still image that is then played next to another still
Exactly.
each frame.
And our brain just put those images together
Ah, yeah.
as a video.
I mean, the question, Yari, is how much do you know me? How much is real? I've been watching a lot of Truman Show like films, like
Ah,
manic TV series.
uh-huh. I don't know. That's
It's
that
all
part of
very
it.
much like what is real, what is in our mind.
Mm, right.
Ah,
What is in our mouth?
and what is like the script or the score
Yeah.
that we follow?
Hmm.
I mean, ultimately, a script is or a score is just a practicality, but when you really open it up and ask like what is it, how does it work, then I feel like social contracts and the codes of the stage and the codes of the body are all implicated.
Yeah. But then it's a bit like what we spoke about, like maybe in the first episode. What choreograph us is that
Yeah, yeah. What is
your
choreography?
yeah,
Yeah,
from an
also
expanded
this.
perspective, right?
Yeah, exactly. What
Or
choreographs
you meant
us?
something else with that,
No, 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 no.
the score of like
I was thinking about them both. Um, and just now I was thinking about how horrible it must have been or could be to be hearing me eating this
ah,
whole beginning of this episode. This, mm, and yet, I think what I'm getting more and more fascinated by in making these podcasts and thinking about these podcasts, not just ours, but the the workshops and the ones with the guests, is the sort of the desire to capture things which maybe shouldn't be captured. Like there's something about dance where you're presenting a human body in all of its complexity and the what expanded choreography and choreography sort of an art making maybe an art in general teaches me is this sense of like it's an amalgamation of everything so that the pause the gap the silence the stutter the hiccup the slurping these are all parts and because
mm,
just because they don't have the same intelligibility as words articulated well and in a British accent, for example, they have less meaning. That's not true. They have meaning still, and they still contribute to the whole. Um, yeah, Tim Spooner once said to me that if you were to if you were to ask to count everything in the universe, every little thing, whatever you do and have done would have to be included in that count.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all a bit more annotation though than score also, or that score that comes after, right? You know what I mean? I think like somehow we have two scores that
Yeah.
we have those people that write scores before,
Yes.
and then those people that write scores after.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought this up because for a long time, I've been convinced that documentation and score are part and parcel the same thing. And I understand why people don't use them as a synonym. However, are they not, in one regard or another, acting upon the choreographed in a very similar way with a similar dynamic? Exactly as you say, like a score can be something that you write in the hope that it will happen. So it's acting directly on what could be. And then a score that is scoring what happened, which tries to capture how that thing occurred and what one would have to do for it to occur again. They have this similar logic of um, trying to orient the activity, but
Yeah.
neither are the activity as well.
No, right. It's true. Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I think for me, I often get caught up with as well how the audience are choreographed. The audience are interpreters of something. You know, there's a relationship of reading. If the dance that is performed on stage isn't the score, then what the audience witness um, isn't what is done on stage. It's what happens inside the witness.
Yeah.
Maybe not inside them, but in their perception.
Right. Interpret. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
makes it very
It's just,
individualistic, perhaps.
well, I mean, yes and no, in the sense that there is so many codes that we can read through.
Yeah.
Also narrative are so strong in our daily life, modern life, and actually human history in the culture. So there is a tendency to create always to connect it, create a narrative that make us access the
Mm.
performance, no? And
Yeah.
one of the problem maybe of experimental dance or this choreography, expanded choreography as an art is maybe that accessibility where suddenly the audience has a problem, are like, oh, but what that this means, or
Mm.
how can I really experience that
Mm.
the things that I maybe don't like.
Mm.
Also, yeah,
So,
the representation
yeah.
of movement is so strong sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah. It somehow yeah, it like just two people on stage already you have 1,000 stories that and you're like,
exactly,
but
yeah,
which one, what is the story, what is their
exactly.
relationship? We want to know why they're there, what they're gonna do, why they're gonna do the way they do, what caused them to be in that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I, uh, we maybe this we are speaking about the interpretation of the audience, and I'm also uh, I'm thinking about the interpretation of the dancer.
Yeah.
So, what is the interpretation of the dancer in relation to a
Mm.
score?
Hmm.
No? or where
Yeah.
it is, where the dancer have its agency maybe
Hmm.
in the interpretation.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I was thinking about like mm, the dancer and the choreographer, they're a part of a community. In one of the problems is the same problem that you see in charity, right? Where in charity, the charity, the giver, assumes the needs of the the people that they are raising money for or something. You know, it assumes their what is required for them to function, live better, whatever. And like what is somehow um, more ethical and empathetical is an alongsideness. Like if if we could just be with those people and be next to them and remain there regardless of the conditions, could we not then create a better community? There's something I don't know if this makes any sense, but there's
Hmm.
something of like um, by assuming the need, we start to enter into problematic relationships, even if the assumption of need is coming from a good place. And so you're totally right. Like what what is the agency that is required of a dancer? What is like sort of necessary for them to actually be agents within the situation, to be empowered rather than subservient to a mode or a regime which doesn't include them in a way
Mm.
and their specificity.
Yeah. I mean, it make me think that when the score is there, it's also interesting because sometimes also the choreographer is subjected by the score.
Yes,
So
yes,
that's also the score. It's also interesting because then it's allow also to that the responsibilities goes to the score, not only to the choreographer, right?
yes, yeah. No, it becomes like a mediator of power in a way, right? Like that we can all turn to the that as a reference point.
Yeah. But also
Um,
the choreographer become
Comes a
the
dancer.
re the reader of the score, a
Yes,
possible interpreter,
yes,
knowing that it's not only like, yeah, that is also an interpreter in that sense. It's interpreting the score. Like there is this
mm,
like that is also interesting because it's because the dancers somehow have this freedom of not have so much responsibilities. I mean,
yes,
outside the working time.
yeah,
And that is the freedom also. Now it's the agency of that, or
yes.
one of the agency, or for example, finding out what is, how
Mm.
to interpret that score. It's a very also powerful tool for the dancer, obviously.
And that's maybe a mark of the greater democratization in dance practice is where discussion and like discursive practices around the materiality of the dance are inclusive of all involved. Um, Whereas I think wherever I found frustration with a dance project, it's usually because I feel like the ability to enter into a discussion around the material is limited somehow. Um, like I mean, in dance class, sometimes the feeling is that you can't ask questions. You should just go and try it again. and I'll tell you if you've got it right or not. And that's not
Yeah,
that's maybe that's too is narrowing down dance classes and stuff. Like there's plenty of dance classes that work differently, but like it
yeah,
is this iterative and discursive model that um, emancipates the actors in a greater way. And you're right, the score can act then as a material that we can all look at and talk about and act upon as agents.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been working with Samuel Feldhandler. That he write his scores like he sit on a desk and write his scores.
Hmm.
Like, and they look like annotation. So you would think that this he first danced and then he annotated. No, not at all. He write annotation almost. So they are
Yeah.
scored at a very strong uh and maybe that also go against not this idea that oh so the more free score are the one that
Yeah.
first you write and then there is more improvisation through that
Yes.
task set of task and the one more like annotated are the one that come after because something happened for real. Well, in this case, it's the opposite.
Mm.
He decided to write, having ideas. And maybe he comes up and does a movement because he want to, but he already has the movement before, you know. I just
Mm.
want to be sure how to annotate it, to be sure to annotate it right. So this is also very interesting
Yeah.
because then he's also the only one that can really read, at
Yeah.
least in a tempo that we can consider okay.
Yes.
What is writing, although it's very, very clear in the form. I mean, it also has different way of annotating, so sometimes it's easier also for you. I mean, you can make a simple thing.
Yeah.
And it's this is basically one of the main tools he used to have a less power on
Mm.
the
Mm.
and of course a lot of stuff he knows what you want.
Mm.
You know, oh, this it means this, but actually I didn't write that, but I want this.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
time it's like I didn't write that because I don't know. So it's also very then it becomes very clear,
Mm.
very okay.
No, exactly. But it's interesting you bring up the reading thing because, of course, like the Bible, it was at some point it was only a certain few who could read it. You know what I mean? Like it was only the priest that was had the capacity to sort of interpret and give reading of that which sort of determines and codifies life. And so you see also this, I guess, in the scoring and the reading of scores, also the potential to give greater autonomy and less autonomy around the access everyone has, the equal access everyone has to understanding the score and recognizing the score. But that's not to say that I think there's a pleasure, isn't there, in being told what to do, um, being in that role where you don't have to concentrate on the responsibility of the actions and you can lean on the being within in the process and being carried a little bit. Um, so long as when your voice is needed to be heard, that it can be heard in a way, right?
Tell me more about this voice needed to be heard.
Yeah. So, like I'm thinking about how uh, how it can be a relief not to have the responsibility of thinking, okay, how much longer do I do this for? Or how like thinking about every detail and having to take responsibility for all those choices. Um, Like that can be such a pleasure. But if at some point you wish to question or um, understand why uh, you have to dance in a certain way, or why the scheduling is as it is, and feel a connection or the ability to take responsibility around something, if you so desire, and then it like depends if the voice is allowed to be heard or not, right? Like if the voice is closed, and that's you don't have to worry about that, even when the person's maybe demonstrating they wish to be participating in the responsibility of why dance in this way, not this way, or something.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I I think I am one of those bad dancers that
Bad dancers?
that try to take more responsibilities when
Yeah.
they are not asked, and then when somehow gets some responsibility, also it doesn't want to take it. So it's very interesting that there is no many practices around in dance where there is a conversation about responsibility in the very beginning. That as a
Mm.
starting point, I mean, or during the course, or during the because we know very well also that dance it's a relational. We try, we see, it's
Yeah.
constant moving, and of course we start a project with certain kind of responsibility, and somehow we finish with the others.
Yeah.
And it's not a big deal because this is happening very often. But yeah.
But is it fair, like I've been questioning myself, calling myself a bad dancer for very similar reasons, that I don't follow instructions very well. But is it fair to say that? I mean, um, I wonder if, like you say, yeah, maybe there are very few of these spaces, and I don't feel like I carry them that well either. Like I don't feel like I'm a great choreographer in terms of taking care of the responsibility and ensuring that everyone feels and gets the responsibility they need and has their voice heard or whatever. But should it not be something we're working towards or trying to work towards? Is it not a practice in itself? Something that takes, it's not something that's inevitable. Therefore, we need to find tools and methods and practices which provide us the ability to be able to take responsibility for what it is. And maybe it goes back to dance in general, right? Like the ideal situation in any dance situation is that we can just be alongside, and we feel that's enough, that it's enough to be alongside at the same time as each other.
Mm.
Um, However, in communicating that and trying to understand why we're alongside and for what reason, we need to enter into like a flawed structural and hierarchical system of meaning production and meaning making. Like this is why, even though it's always more complicated than the words that we can use to say why we should be alongside like this and not alongside like that, and so on. And it's this like battle almost. There are some
Mm.
people across the road who have just started dancing in an office type space.
Oh my God. Like you.
I feel like I'm alongside uh, some sort of work exercise
Mm.
space. Sorry.
Yeah. I,
I have
I'm
to
so
admit,
fascinated. Yeah,
say,
go
say.
for it. No, go for it.
I was just saying, I feel so inspired by the work I was doing with babies, where you can't assume anything about their experience or their activity. And you just have to be there and give it
Mm.
time.
Yeah,
And
you're
this has
right.
been fascinating for me because I think we assume too much of each other. Even, well, partly because we can talk to each other and we can agree and we can say like, oh yeah, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it like this, Yari. We will dance at the beginning and then we'll talk. And yet, I mean, we can say that, but do we fully understand each other? And I think we're more like babies in a way. We don't even fully understand our own needs and reasons for the way we act, let alone be able to like consent and communicate to someone else. So, and that's not to undermine consent. I think we should practice consent, but it needs practice. It needs like we need to keep returning to it and keeping it alive and a part of the discussion. We need to find methods on how to be more responsible in being alongside each other because it's a difficult thing to do. It's difficult to communicate exactly what we are doing, why, and what we want to do. Blah blah blah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so interesting because when you spoke about the baby things, it just felt like it's such an anarchist practice. Be with
Yeah.
the baby in the moment
Yes.
and kind of not assuming. I don't know. I
Yes.
understand that. Yeah. Yeah, wow. But also language is what make us assume a lot. I'm like, oh, you say
Exactly.
that. Oh, I understood that. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that. So I know that word means this for
Yeah.
me, but for
Yeah.
you, haha.
You say that, so therefore it's that must be true now.
Exactly. Because I can put it in my system. I can codify that.
Yeah.
I can read that as a code. But
And isn't that interesting when I've worked with scores, quite often it is something that is constantly changing. And in fact, some of the words that we use, if you were to show it out to someone outside of the process, outside of the dance, they would say, "Oh no, that doesn't mean that." But for
mm,
us, it means exactly that. Like
yeah,
regardless of what it normally means, if it's like
no,
we
yeah,
do the banana thing, and people are like, "No,
yeah,
a banana has there's nothing like a banana." And you're like, it doesn't really matter.
yeah,
It's actually just
yeah.
it's just a thing that we are constantly changing and reworking to stay together, to stay with each other, to stay a little bit longer in
Mm,
relationship to each other.
mm, yeah, yeah,
But Yari, this is a beautiful dance. Thank you. We will continue. I'm hoping this time the audio worked out perfectly and there won't be any issues. But it's such a pleasure, and I'll see you
yeah.
in the next week. Do you have anything you would like to say before we say goodbye?
Th I thank you for this time and podcast. I find uh, I think last time you asked me how do I feel about podcast,
Mm, mm,
and I just love so much that we are be busy with dance at the same times than speaking and figure out how that two things can coexist together also with the video.
yes. And I think, like you had said last time, you were like, let's, we need to dance. There needs to be dance. And I think you're so right. Even though this is an audio medium and we've added this video element, we shouldn't get trapped by that. We should always remember that this is about dance. So try and start with a dance. Let's see. We'll continue like this. Okay, thank you, Yari.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.